Hello, my name is Jane Friedman. Welcome to How to Write Your Nonfiction Book Proposal, a 10-Step Action Plan. The first question I want to address is a very simple one, but it's deceptively simple, which is, what is a book proposal? And the answer to this is not always straightforward because there are so many types of nonfiction books. There are those that tell a story, like a memoir or a narrative nonfiction book, and then there are those that are much more information-oriented, that are providing a benefit to someone, teaching them how to do something or how to improve their lives. No two book proposals are in fact alike. They all come together a little bit differently, they're developed in different ways, they have different priorities. But at the heart of the book proposal, regardless of the book that you're writing, what you're putting together is a business plan, which is an argument for why your book is going to be successful in the marketplace. If you've never before written a business plan, that's okay. But let me describe to you what business plans have to accomplish, because this is a really good analogy for what the book proposal needs to accomplish. So business plans put forth an idea for a business, and they describe the business model, and the market research and the planning that goes into marketing to the target audience. There are also sections related to, staffing or team, long-term goals, the long-term development strategy, and so on. Now, your business plan for your book doesn't have to include all of these elements. There are just a few very specific things that the publisher needs to know. They're most interested in your knowledge of the market and your reach to the readership and how your book fits into the current landscape, especially when we're looking at the competitors. So this involves, knowing about trends, being able to analyze what else is out there, being able to demonstrate what resources you have personally or professionally to devote to your book's success. The great thing about book proposals, at least in my opinion, is that you don't have to write the book first. You write the proposal, making an argument for why the book deserves investment from the publisher, and then the publisher contracts you to write the book. So this way the publisher is taking on risk, financial risk. They're paying you in advance, giving you a book contract, and then you go off and produce the book that you promised in your proposal. Now, many authors I meet, especially those who are memoirists, have indeed written the manuscript first, and that's okay. It's not a problem if you're in that situation. Just understand that because you've got a finished manuscript, it doesn't mean you get off the hook when it comes to the book proposal. You still have to write it. There are some gray areas here that we'll get to in a minute, but one of the whole points, in any case, of writing the proposal is that you don't need a finished book. You're arguing for why someone ought to hire you to write it. If you do have a finished manuscript, be prepared to be flexible because the editor or the agent may want you to make changes. They tend to be very hands-on in the development of nonfiction, especially when they're contracting it up front. They'll have all sorts of insights. Let's hope they're helpful insights about what the market needs and what would be most successful on the shelf. So you'll want to listen actively to what the agent and editor has to tell you about how to produce the most successful book. When we talk about nonfiction books, there are two categories that I tend to divide them into, and you're going to hear me refer to these two categories again and again. One of these categories is information-based nonfiction. Nonfiction that has a benefit, that's teaching you how to improve your life or how to improve the world. So I have some magazine examples up because I think these are brands that most people recognize and understand. So you have Real Simple as an example of information-based nonfiction. In fact, most magazines that you see on the newsstand provide examples of this. And you've got these cover lines that promote how you can improve your life through the content inside. On the right-hand side of my slide here, I've got the New Yorker, which is kind of the classic example of a very artful, story-driven, craft-driven type of nonfiction. Now, the New Yorker does have one short story per issue, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about all of the nonfiction reporting and storytelling that happens inside. Of course, it's very news and current events based, but they also run profiles and features and all sorts of other things. So for the New Yorker, like if you were trying to publish some writing that was New Yorker worthy, people would be very much focused on the quality of the writing and the storytelling. The art really matters. And so this is this difference is quite important when we're thinking about what's the nonfiction book that you're pitching, and is the information or the value or the benefit of the information, does that take priority? Or is it the writing, the art, the craft of the storytelling? Is that what takes priority? Now, when we talk about memoir, narrative nonfiction, and an example of that would be a book like Seabiscuit, or if creative nonfiction, biography, many histories. These are categories where we're really interested in being entertained, in someone who knows how to turn a phrase and can keep us glued to the page chapter after chapter, someone who knows how to write scenes and build characterization and do all the, use the elements of fiction in order to tell a story. This is the world of creative nonfiction and narrative nonfiction, and it's very writing driven. So in those types of cases, the writing takes priority, and you're often analyzed or assessed based on how well you can pull off a story on the page, the quality of the writing or the voice or the personality. When it comes to the real simple side of things, when we're looking at information like how to lose weight or how to get a better job or how to succeed in business, how to do a craft project, we're not usually interested in how artful the writing is, but how helpful the information is. Now, of course, we don't want crappy writing, but the writing merely has to be serviceable, clear, and express just what's needed in order to put the advice to good use. So if you are doing information-based nonfiction, it's not to say that you're off the hook for the writing quality, but that's not how your proposal and how your project will be assessed. And now we come to the gray area, or at least what I call the gray area of memoir in the nonfiction realm. Memoir has a lot of challenges associated with it, and in fact, I have a dedicated lecture just on memoir and some of the challenges facing memoirists, and I encourage you to go and listen to that whenever you're ready, right up front if necessary. And the reason I call it a gray area is that some agents assess memoir based on the manuscript alone, while other publishers and some agents really want to see a proposal and maybe a sample chapter, and they're assessing that memoir based on market appeal and maybe even platform of the author. We'll talk about platform a lot more in the lectures to come. So what you'll find is that you've got a kind of a double requirement here. You need to have the art, craft, and style, basically, of a fiction writer, that level of skill. In order to sell a memoir, you have to be a great storyteller. But there also is this component of having to make a business case for why the market is going to be interested in your life story. Why you? Why is the world going to spend $20 or $25 on what you've experienced? And so there's this just really strange blend of a business case you have to make for why your story matters, at the same time that the story just has to knock it out of the park in terms of the craft. So I apologize to all the memoirists who do have kind of like a double burden here that many others do not have. Although once you get into any kind of creative nonfiction or narrative nonfiction, you're often having to make both cases simultaneously, that you've got the writing chops and you've got the business case. Now, before we move on to the 10 steps, I just want to talk very globally about the 3 questions your proposal must answer, at least by the end. The first question you have to answer is, so what? And this has to do with the relevance of your book's subject matter or topic in the current market. Why is anyone going to care about a full-length book on your topic? Why is this of interest in the landscape, the book-specific landscape? And right on the heels of that, you get into the question of who cares. Who is it in the market? Who is it that you're targeting that's going to be interested in buying this book? what benefit is there or what entertainment is there that's going to be compelling enough for them? So these two questions really are intertwined very closely. It's deadly to try and make an argument that anybody or everyone can use and benefit from your book, or that anyone would be entertained, or that anyone could find something in it that's inspiring or helpful. That's not helpful from a marketing perspective whatsoever. It's in fact the opposite. It just makes everything more diffuse and hard to pinpoint as far as exactly who's going to care about this and be willing to invest their time and money into it. So the more that you can pinpoint and visualize a very specific readership, a particular demographic or type of person, the stronger position you're in. The third question, who are you? So this has to do with your authority or credibility in your subject matter or in your category or your topic or in your field or community. Also has to do with your visibility in that field. So you may have authority and credentials, but if no one knows who the hell you are, that can be a real problem. Because one of the arguments you have to make in the book proposal is how you're going to achieve visibility on your own for your book. In essence, how are you going to make this book sell? Through your own power, through your own ability to spread the word throughout your community, whether that's online or offline. And then for those of you who are working on memoir or narrative nonfiction, where the art and the craft of story is essential, then your publication record will often come into play. Like if you've published nothing at all in the creative nonfiction field, that's going to raise some questions as to whether or not you're really ready to do a book-length work. Most people who publish a memoir or a narrative nonfiction book have a series of publication credits leading up to that. You know, they've been actively putting work out in magazines, newspapers, online, on blogs, in a wide variety of places usually, and it's kind of like stepping stones leading up to that book. For better or worse, your platform as an author often matters above all when agents and publishers are making a decision on your project. Platform, again, is simply your visibility to the readership that the book is intended for. If you do not have that visibility, it makes it that much harder for an agent or publisher to have confidence that your book is going to sell once it reaches the market. So what goes into visibility? It's going to be different for every author. Some people are very visible as a speaker, like on the speaking circuit, or they're very active in their field, like as a leader at organizations or institutions. They have a powerful network. Others are social media stars. They might have large followings on YouTube or Twitter. They might have very active blogs. So, but usually we look at platform, or we should look at platform holistically. It's not just that you need to have a lot of Twitter followers or you need to be writing for the New York Times, but that you have a strength in how you reach people and how you spread the word that's not reliant on one thing, but is a combination of several things that have grown organically over time. Like it's almost, just think about how any career grows over time and starts to add more and more layers. That platform is very similar. It's the product of all of your work out in the world and all of your accomplishments and all of your credentials and the people you know and who are willing to answer the phone or respond to an email when you send one. So that finishes our overview of what a book proposal is and what it needs to accomplish. The first step in developing your proposal is researching the competitive titles. So that's what we're going to tackle in the next lesson.